daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Low blocks and even lower returns would be the starting headline of Newcastle United's season so far. And with a big test in West London this weekend, Newcastle are going to turn their Premier League season around. It's going to start with the solving of the deepest problem in our game, breaking down compact defences. Now, to join me to talk about it is my good pal Iain Mackay. How do you feel about the low block in general, Iain?
I can understand why teams have adopted a low block against Newcastle. The marauding Newcastle intensity is our identity anyway.
Yeah.
And it has proved to be very effective this season against us. But that's just, that should be a problem that is being addressed and to be solved at every training session.
Yeah.
But the proof
Doesn't
of the
seem
pudding
like it,
is
does it?
not yet being displayed. So yes, low
Yeah, it
block. It
feels
seemed a
like
really basic tactic to flummox us for quite so long.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where the low block probably is an oversimplification of our problems, but it goes back to a couple of seasons back, the 0-0s against Bournemouth, or the 1-1 against Bournemouth, should I say, and the 0-0 against Crystal Palace, and then Leeds when we drew 0-0 against them as well. And even the 2-2 when Sam Allardyce played there, then Everton and Brighton last season. And we've seen it so many times already this year that we're just struggling with it. And I think the reason for that is we're getting out of this old mid-table paradox where, you've got that sort of top of mid-table mentality where you had West Ham a few seasons back, Everton a few seasons back. Obviously, that's a little while ago now. Now it's kind of like Newcastle United. You could argue Brighton are teetering on that section because they're always in that top half. Villa are obviously there all the time. And it's kind of where Tottenham Hotspur have been for a long time as well, where teams no longer go into games thinking, we're going to beat you by just going 1-1. And we're seeing more and more sides adopt that low block. In fact, this season, only 2 sides have faced a lower block than Newcastle United, more as frequent as Newcastle United this season. Can you name those 2 sides for me?
Yeah. I would just fall it completely into your trap, obviously. Assuming that they must have played us because that's one extra low block. I'll go for Liverpool and Arsenal.
So Liverpool are there, but the Arsenal are not the second team, despite the fans complaining about it every single day. No, Arsenal are actually in 4th, just behind Newcastle, so it is a great shout. But in second place, it's a bit of a surprise. It's Nottingham Forest. Forest's good fortunes have been turned around and rattled by the low block. They struggle against it. We struggle against it. And you know how we went to try to solve it? We tried to sign their winger, or we did sign their winger, for 50 million. And it's going great. But no, it's not Alanga's fault. We've been struggling for years. He just hasn't been the solution. But the truth is, we kind of look more comfortable when we play the big hitters, don't we? Best performance this season for me was Liverpool. Would you agree?
I think that was a freak game, that though, when we're down to 10 men before we started playing
It
really
was still a
well.
better side with 11, I think.
Well, I think we
Personally.
were, yeah. I think we were unlucky to go behind, definitely. But yeah, I think if we've got a team that comes onto us, then that gives us room to find the gaps, doesn't it? I think it's difficult this year as well. We need to find because we struggled last year against a low block, and now we've got a different type of forward who I think ultimately, well, we'll get into it, but I think Valtamada is the sort of player who can be a low block, but not if he's playing centre forward. He needs to play 10 yards further back, in
Yeah.
my view.
So to be fair, I was going to ask about Nick Voltemada a bit later, but we'll move. To be honest, I'm happy to move straight to it now. He is excellent in the final third, as you say, but he doesn't quite suit the playing style of Newcastle United, I don't think, because he comes very deep, and it means when we're getting to the byline, we've got, let's say we play Gordon and Alanga. Gordon's played 18 games and not got a goal or assist for us in the league, and in his last 18, should I say? And Alanga hasn't got one for us either. So then we're relying on the wingers for the to actually create something there, and it's one of those where maybe, just maybe, you need a Johan Wissa up there who is just going to score, and Nick Voltemada is, despite being absolutely brilliant, not quite the striker we've needed at this precise moment. What do you think?
Well, I think we just have to adapt. It should have been. I mean, the Athletic Club, for example, were playing such a high line. They were pushed up onto the halfway line when we had the ball. And we did try. There was one ball hoofed forward, which Joe Linton ran onto and should have scored with before he handballed it in the middle of doing that and then whacked it over the bar. But that was a simple punt forward over the top for someone to run onto. It's the opposite of a low block, I suppose. It's when everybody's further back. But we need somebody who can pick a pass through the lines. I've seen Bruno do it. I've seen Tonali do it. I've seen Miley do it. I'm not sure why we can't engineer things during a game to be doing that. If they each tried it 2 or 3 times, then surely we'd have a couple get through.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I think, particularly when, the eye test always tells you something a bit different to the stats. But against West Ham, it just felt like we couldn't get the ball into that midfield to do so. They were so energetic and they were all over that midfield three that they just couldn't really do anything, and we were really struggling on that front. I think with that, a lot of it came from not having the fullbacks to progress
Mm.
forward. Emil Kraft, Dan Burn, both great players, but they can't really run. Kieran Trippier coming in against Athletic Club, he was fantastic, wasn't he? And you can really see the difference when he plays in comparison to an Emil Kraft. So do you think having not just Trippier, but Livramento and Hall both playing when they come back, that'll help our issue of the low block, because we will be able to overwhelm the numbers, while at the minute we just can't really get them in there? What do you think?
Well, I think the low block beats us because we're outnumbered, full stop.
Yeah.
And if we can get more numbers in there to level things up, before you factor in the sheer class and skill of Livramento and Hall, I think that's got to help. But you're right, Kraft and Byrne weren't really overlap. I know Byrne was trying to overlap, and it actually put a couple of really good crosses in as well. But
He
it's
did.
not his natural game. It's not his natural game.
Absolutely not.
I think it's got to come naturally. I think the fullbacks come back would help. Um, Having a winger that can go past a fullback to the byline and pull it back can help. But this Voltemada is so good at receiving the ball and hanging on to it that I think he and his layoffs are excellent. I think the longer they're training together, the more that we will find a way to unpick a low block by ball effectively bouncing off Voltemada through to where he knows somebody is running onto. But we've got to have the runners. We've got to have the runners through from midfield. We've got to have the wingers coming in from the side. And confidence is down, I think, um,
Yeah.
in both departments. And that's why they'll not overcommit away from home.
Yeah, you're probably right. We saw against West Ham, as soon as we scored that first goal, we just sat back. But you mentioned Voltemara then. One of the things I was actually going to ask you was, do you think Newcastle should have brought a proper number 10 in the transfer window? I'm actually going to turn that around and say, when Johan Wissa comes in, do you think Nick Voltemada will take up the role of a number 10 at times and they'll play together?
I hope so. I hope so. But that would require a
Formation
tweak
change time.
to the formation, wouldn't it? I think if you do a 4-2-3-1 rather than 4-3-3, then there's a space in between the wingers just behind Wissa for Voltemada. But then that's one of Bruno, Tonali, or Joe Linton that isn't the first choice. And
Yeah.
when we selected Brentford yesterday, the team to play Brentford, we made Bruno not one of the first choice. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think we just need to. I don't know. I think we just need to we need to have the confidence that we've got a squad now. We don't have a first team, first 11, and different games will require a different approach.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I would be more than happy to see 4-2-3-1 with Voltemada in the centre of that to pick out um, Visser, maybe
Yeah.
Asula. Asula's shown he can hold somebody off and put a ball away.
He's definitely got the legs for it. And he ran in behind for his goal against Liverpool. He's a bit too lanky to be someone who constantly gets in behind, but it works for Haaland. And Haaland, I know he's the best in the world in that number 9 position. Can't compare the two whatsoever. But Asula's build is fairly similar. So if Haaland has the potential to do that, it shows that a player of that stature can. But that's where I'm thinking about Wissa of
Mm.
the ball comes in from Bruno Gomares. It's a one-touch layoff, Nick Voltemada into Tonali. Then you should have Gordon, let's say Alanga and Vissa all then making the run in behind at times to cause havoc. But it feels like without that proper number 9, because I still don't think Nick Voltemada is the proper number 9. He's sort of the number 10 that lays things off. He's so tidy, arguably our best first touch player on the ball. He'd fit into a Barcelona tiki-taka. But he isn't quite a number 9. So I think when Johan Wissa comes in, that could be the moment that Newcastle United actually finally break that low block. But it's over relying on a player that's not played a single minute for Newcastle. So do we need to rely more on the wingers, do you think? Do they need to do more?
Well, I think if you look back last year, well, they were all on 9 goals, weren't they? Gordon, Barnes, and Murphy.
Yeah.
They're well behind that average this year. So I think they've
100%.
every right to rely on the wingers because they've done it before. They're just not doing it this year. Now, maybe Gordon has been carrying this injury and that's why he's lost half a yard of his pace and that's what puts him ahead. Barnes is a super sub um, and hasn't had a lot of time. I think Murphy's struggled to try to accommodate Alanga in this team, and he hasn't had a lot of time yet. So it's too early to judge for these players. They're not done with at all. One
No,
thing which I haven't mentioned, by the way, Michael, which is a really good way of breaking the low block, and we've only got Fab Shah who tries it really, is
absolutely.
have a shot from 20 yards, 25 yards.
Yeah, get the
You
rebounds
don't
and
have to
stuff.
beat the low block there. You just have to put it in the top corner. And we always try to do it when we've got a stationary free kick and a big wall stood in front of us. What's wrong
Yeah.
with having a few more shots from outside the box? Fab Shah's scored some great goals that way. Um, I don't know what I don't know if Malak Chow's tried it or Botman's tried it. Um, Tonali's had 1 or 2 goes and scored from it, but we
Same
just
with
seem
Jacob
to
Murphy.
not. Well, we just seem to not try it. We're scared of missing it or scared of giving the ball up. But like you say, if you watch some of the goals Murphy scored over the last year or two, some of them go in and you're ahead. Um, so I think it's a chance worth taking rather than recycling the ball around the back again and again and again and it going out for a throw in. I mean, have
Yeah.
a crack. Have a crack,
I think
guys.
that's why, for me, it's really important that Harvey Barnes gets into the squad as well, because outside of Nick Voltemada, you would probably have to say that Harvey Barnes is the best finisher in the team. I don't know if you agree with that, but certainly my thoughts. And when your second best finisher is on the left and not really getting a kick, then realistically, you're not going to score too many goals. But him alongside Murphy, I remember the Wolves game in particular last year. I remember seeing a lot of times for Leicester where he'll cut in from that left hand side and just curl it into the corners. And as you say, he got 9 goals for us last season, a lot less minutes than Murphy and Anthony Gordon. So I'm really glad to see him start. And I think Barnes and Murphy, it's one of those where we've bought in depth because of this. But when you look at Anthony Gordon, 0 goal involvements in 18 games in the league, what? It's hard to say because I want to say what's wrong with him, but that's probably harsh. But something has to improve for him, doesn't it? And do you think it's a mentality thing, or do you think do you think he just can't be bothered?
Well, I don't know if I don't. I don't think he just can't be bothered. I mean, I was interested just recently to hear that he's been carrying this hip problem virtually the whole of the season. So if he's not letting on how bad it is and getting picked, but then being hampered by it, you'd think they would pick that up and not keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because he's looked great for England. He's played very well at against Benfica and
Mhm.
against Tottenham, so he can get up for the big cup matches. But maybe that's just a little extra painkiller that he needs to get through the pain barrier and perform, which he doesn't have
Potentially.
away at West Ham or away at Brighton. I don't
Yeah.
know, but there's
Because I
something
have to
something
say,
amiss there.
if he's had a bit of a knock all season, then don't go away with England to play the likes of Albania. In games where England are going to need you, yes, definitely. But there's no reason why we can't say to Thomas Tuchel, look at the teams you are playing, particularly in this international break where Gordon will miss out. By the looks of it, he's been called up, but it looks like he won't make it. You're playing 2 terrible teams. You don't need Anthony Gordon. You've got Eberechi Eze. You've got Marcus Rashford. I know Gordon will probably be thinking, if I miss a game, I've lost my spot. But if you're not fit for Newcastle, you shouldn't be playing for England. That's my personal opinion. I am going to get to an advert from Bionique because I've got a few things that I want to add. This will probably just be a 2-parter. But I've got some fan queries from X that I've picked out, and we're going to give our thoughts on them. But for now, it's Bionique.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Lovely stuff. So as I mentioned, got a few things that I picked up. This is something about the low block. Obviously, I've done a little bit of research into it, and I wanted to get some fan thoughts just to make sure I wasn't going a bit insane and overlooking into things. And to be fair, I probably still am. But first one that I'd seen was to beat the low block, Newcastle need to change the front 3. Bruno, Tonali, and Joe Linton don't work with 10 behind the ball. What do you think to that? Do you think a Miley or a Ramsey would fix that, or do you think it's one of those best 3 have to play?
Well, I mean, I would always pick Bruno and Tonali, but neither of them can play 60 games. So I think we've got to have some alternatives. If the teams that are stacking up with a low block are the teams in the second half, the bottom half of the table, then maybe there are
Yeah,
games where you will miss Bruno or Tonali out and give them a rest because you want to drop them when you're playing against Man City or Arsenal or Chelsea.
yeah,
So
definitely.
certainly Ramsey has looked tidy without having the confidence to do anything spectacular yet. I tell you who looked good playing against Tottenham, the forgotten man, but looked like he got a lot of his sharpness back, and he did have an assist for the second goal, was Joe Willock. Joe
Yes,
Willock's in the squad. Joe Willock on form was our best player 2 or 3 years ago. Scored a
he
lot of
was. Yeah,
goals. Ran past players to. I still remember that that ball for Isak to score the fourth against Tottenham in the
Tottenham.
6-1 victory with the
Great
outside
as
of the foot.
yeah.
I mean,
Puskas should have won.
and I can remember him running from the halfway line and scoring a goal against Southampton. Willock's a good player, and he's been cropped off and on for 2 years. If he's back and he looked back against Tottenham, maybe he should get a few extra minutes. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Miley. I think Miley is capable. He can certainly see a pass. We saw a great one in one of his first games to set Isak up to score against Ipswich, I think it was. Maybe it wasn't Ipswich, Fulham. Can't remember. Great ball through. But against Bromley last year, Miley could look up, put his foot on the ball, and wallop something into the top corner. We've never even seen him try that in the first team. I think he needs to be given free rein to do what he's thinking rather than to put his foot on it and knock it sideways, which we see too much of. I think he's still worried about giving the ball away. Um, and the best players, most creative players, they don't have a 98% pass completion rate because they're trying clever things.
Yeah.
And you might get intercepted 2 or 3 times, but the fourth time it gets through, and that's when we score. We need
Yeah.
more of that.
You don't mind a 75% pass completion ratio when they've got 3 assists, do you? You're absolutely right, and I think that's the thing with Miley. I hate to say this, and I actually said it. I don't know the exact pod, but it was over a year ago that Miley might have to do what Anderson's done to really break through, just because we do have such a good midfield three, and he is that talented. He is far too talented to be sitting on a bench somewhere. But I hope that never happens. And it's a hope. I hope that's something that I never actually have to bring up again. The
I don't
second
think
one.
Miley's already there. I think Miley is all. It was excellent when I saw Howe asked a question
Mhm.
about Miley. Does he, is he just sitting there absorbing it all from Tonali and Bruno to learn? And Howe just said, no, I don't think Lewis is doing that. He thinks he's on a level with them. He's competing for their places. So I think that Miley has got through the bad times. I think Miley's almost a first choice. And, if Bruno or Joe Linton don't book their ideas up big time soon, I think you'll find Miley on the team sheet before either of them. That
Mm.
might be controversial, but that's how much I
Yeah,
rate
it's a
him.
big
As I say,
statement.
he's the Geordie Tonali.
He is. He is. He's an absolutely fantastic player, and I hope he does get the game time he needs, because it'll be horrible to see another Geordie lad go off. But number 2, Anthony Gordon is sitting far too deep this season. He needs to play closer to Nick Voltemada. I've mentioned that actually so far this season, that I think Gordon is sitting too deep. But I do think the reason for that is because Burns playing fullback. Would you agree with that?
Totally. Totally. When Hall has carried the ball into the opposition half, Gordon must be up on the edge of their box. Byrne doesn't do that. Gordon's coming to
No.
the touchline on the halfway line to pick the ball up from Byrne or from Joe Linton. And then he's got to turn and travel another 50 yards to get into the box, which he doesn't do all of the time, particularly not if he's got a hip injury. But that's
No.
absolutely right. Gordon's been playing too deep. I think it's similar with Alanga, why Alanga might have struggled, because
Yeah.
he's not had
I
anybody
agree.
really. Um, I know Trips does push on a little bit more, but he's still not bombing up and down the wing the way that Livramento or Hall does.
No, I completely agree. I think it's one of those where we kind of need a plan B when those two aren't available, because other fullbacks just can't do the role like they can. Emil Kraft, I love him, but he isn't a Tino Livramento quality player. Kieran Trippier, I love him, and he has got the skill on the ball to do that. We saw that against Athletic Club, but just the movement isn't quite there. Same with Dan Burn, absolutely brilliant player. He will go down in Newcastle folklore forever. He's a cult hero, maybe even a legend. He'll go on to be at the club, but at left back, he's not Lewis Hall, and yeah, it's a big it's a big statement for Lewis Hall because, as you said, last season he was one of the best in the league. He missed half a season, and when I did the team of the season pod with the Premier League guys, I said if Lewis Hall was fit for another 10 games, he'd be team of the season left back. So he is that good, but I almost think we need younger backups, if that makes sense. Younger backups who are looking to push. Like, I don't want to say a Harrison Ashby because he hasn't really done it, but
he's not
players
the answer,
who
is he?
are just going to run. No, he's not the answer, but players who are just going to run and run and run. So what do you think about that? Would you say fullbacks actually might be a key signing next season, just as backup for Livermore and Hull?
If Ashby is Ashby first choice left back in the reserves?
No, he
Who
doesn't
is?
even get a game. I don't
Does he
think.
not?
No,
Well,
I think he's injured at
I
the
don't
moment.
think we've tried Murphy enough.
Oh,
Alex Murphy. I like
mm.
him. I don't know if I like him when I've seen him because he played centre half or because he played left back.
Yeah, he was good at
But I
ball.
do
I've
like
seen
the
that.
look of the bits and pieces I've seen of Leo Sahar,
Yeah,
who is a good player at right back.
he looks like he's going to come through.
Maybe he needs to come in. Maybe he needs to be picked before Emil Kraft is picked again. Let's have a look at him properly.
Yeah,
If there's nothing doing, if there's no spark there, then they need more time. Then maybe we've got to go and buy a couple of fullbacks, younger fullbacks. You'd
yeah,
think that
absolutely.
I think that would be Emil Kraft out to pasture. I don't think there'd be any
Yeah,
point hanging on to him.
no, I agree. I
Um,
think Kraft leaves in the summer, to be honest. I think he's been a great servant. I'm so happy that he still gets games for Sweden. But it's just one of those where what we pay for him, 3 million, 2.5, something like that. From Angers, I think it was in France. Like, he's more than paid off that 2.5. Let him go be a starter somewhere. Let him go back to France or go back to Sweden and be a starter somewhere and let him finish his career with a bang. But we do need, for me, I mean, I said it in the summer window, the gone. I thought we needed another left back, even though we were stacked.
mm,
And I'm annoyed that I was right. Because it didn't look like I could be, really, when I made the
no,
statement. I
not we
felt
were
like an
going.
idiot
Oh well,
then.
Trippier and Livramento could play left back as well. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah,
One of those
it didn't
options
seem
I
possible.
had was that Alex Murphy would be covering, and he's not.
True.
He's nowhere near it. He's nowhere near it.
No.
He was on the bench against
Oh,
Athletic
actually,
Club.
I
Sorry,
didn't realize that. I didn't realize
yeah,
that at
yeah,
all, to be honest.
he got on the bench, but that might have been because Asula came out and he was kicking around. He
Yeah,
came out very late on. Um,
fair.
One other solution, which if you're looking at ways of attacking the low block, could be to have our super three. Let's be honest, Chow, Botman, and Byrne. Let's say at centre
Mm-hmm.
half. Chow can also do his right back. Byrne can also do his left back. You could
Yeah,
put some quite attacking wing backs in there. You could put Barnes or Gordon on the left side, Murphy, Alanga on the right side, and then you have got a spot for Faltamada to play 10 yards further back and pick people
yeah.
out. I don't know.
It's certainly an option.
That's interesting. It's only in the when we can't have Tino or Hall playing there. I'm just looking for
Yeah,
some
agreed.
alternatives. But it'd be nice to have something as wild as that, and then have Tino and Hall playing at wing backs.
Yeah, I cannot wait for those two to return because I'm looking at it and thinking if we go into the derby without those two, I'm slightly cautious. If we have them fit, I'm fully confident. That's the difference between us with those two and us without them. They're brilliant. But on to the next one. Newcastle United have looked worse at set pieces since Martin Mark came to the club.
It's the
Agree
set
or
piece coach.
disagree? Yes.
Well, poor old Martin Mark. What can you do? I think I think Dan Burns scored a great set piece routine. That was off the training ground, wasn't it? Where he came
Yeah, it's
storming
fantastic.
in. It's only Athletic Club that could leave him totally unmarked on the back post for him to score that header. I don't know. I can remember there being a season where we'd never scored from a corner, and the number of games since
Yeah.
we'd scored from a corner was getting up to 35,
100.
40. A while ago, pre Eddie
Mm.
Howe, but I think we're rubbish at taking a direct free kick.
I'd
Don't know
agree.
if we've got anybody who wants to do that. We tend to just lob the. I mean, it's the same. It's going to be lofted high for Burn to flick it on
Yeah.
or Chow to flick it on, and I hope that it drops to somebody who can put it in. But it doesn't seem very sophisticated. I do like
No.
some of the corners where the little back heels are going on. That's that
Yeah.
set piece coach that did those for Callum Wilson to score a few.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think you could say it's worse now than it's ever been, though.
I think
I think
it's
that
more worse in comparison to last season, if I've
maybe.
looked at it correctly, which I kind of agree with, but I only agree with it because who was doing it last year? It was Jason Tyndall. Jason Tyndall has been working with us on set pieces for 3.5 years. Martin Mark has been doing it for not even 3.5 months. So for him to come in and have all these ideas, I want to do things differently, it is going to take a little while for the players to master those routines. Let's be honest, you're working on set pieces every week, but you're not going to master them straight away. I do think
Mm,
we will come good with them. I do think there's a lot of potential there, and to be honest, we're not even one of the worst in the league at set pieces. Where I think we're about mid-table, which ain't great. We were, I think, 4th or 5th last season. So it is worse, but I think we will get a lot better because of that. And it's just one of those where we've got someone specifically working on it now. We saw the benefits against Bilbao, as you said. Great header by Dan Burn. I mean, maybe that's just the Spanish naivety of letting the 6'6" fella completely unmarked at the back post.
we can
But
mark him,
yeah,
so don't waste a player doing it.
yeah, exactly. We can't do it, so we won't do it. I do think it'll get better. I mean, it will get better, won't it? Let's be honest. The
Well,
talent that
he's
we've got.
introduced the long throw as a new set piece this year as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
although we
and
are, I think every team has adopted that this year.
yeah, but I think we've scored. I can remember one where it was flicked on.
Liverpool, we scored from it. Yeah.
Right, that's it. Yeah,
Bruno second goal. Well, the second goal, Bruno got it. Tap in at the
yeah.
back post. It was a decent
So
one.
I don't know whoever's attacking there. I haven't given them enough time. I
Yeah,
would
I
say,
agree.
and
And then
there are some fruits there. So yeah,
yeah,
that'll improve.
absolutely. And then the fourth one that I had, because I had picked out 5, was does Johan Wisser and Nick Voltemara start together when he's back? We talked about that earlier. And then the final one was, have Newcastle United developed a mentality of settling for a 1-0 win when we go 1-0 up instead of trying to smash teams like we did a few years ago? And is it costing us more games than it causes us to win? I've tried to reword it and probably made it more wordy, to be honest.
I mean, I kind of agree with that. If we scored it very early against West Ham,
Yeah.
I would have loved to have just kept going at them because they must have been ready to fold like a broken deck chair. But we sat off them, didn't we? And we gave them
Yeah.
confidence to come on to us. Kind
Yeah,
of
you
did
give
that,
Bowen and Paquette the time on the ball, it's curtains, isn't it?
yeah. So, but when we established that intensity as our identity, 12 months into that, with all the success that it brought, there were a lot of injuries that were brought as well. So I think
Yeah.
the hand of Bunce is at work in suggesting once we scored, we shut up shop for 10 minutes just to consolidate and then see
Yeah,
how the game is playing out, which I
you're
disagree with.
probably
I
right.
think if you know that there's a team floundering, you get after them. But, I don't think we'll ever go 3 up in the first 10 minutes against Tottenham again. And that's
No,
sad.
100% agreed. Yeah, it's a difficult one because you are looking at it and thinking, right, we've still picked up quite a few injuries so far this campaign. Obviously, we've got 5 out for the weekend, and a couple have just come back. So it is really difficult to say, we haven't been going full pelt at it because the injuries are still there. But you can see when we play, there's a clear difference in intensity from a couple of years ago, and I think that, as you say, that is a large part of it. We are sitting back after we score that first goal, and it is actually quite worrying because I think any time we score at the minute, I'm just expecting us to try and soak up pressure for 10 minutes, and I hate that, to be honest. I don't know
It's
what
not
you
right.
think.
It's like anything. If you try and do anything, excuse me, if you try and do anything and you're not flat out to do it the best, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
Even if we
it's
try to
half-assed.
press, maybe we don't have the energy.
It's half-assed and it looks half-assed. And the opposition will know because they've played against Newcastle for the last 2 or 3 seasons. They know how
Yeah.
tough it is. Suddenly it's a lot easier than it was. Their confidence comes back before we've done anything wrong.
Yeah, you're expecting a much tougher time, and then when it's easier than you think, all of a sudden you get your head up and you think, hang on, we can win this. So yeah, I think that's exactly what happened against West Ham, to be honest. They hit the post early on, we scored, and then they had 10 minutes of possession, dominated the game, and they went, yeah, we're going to get back into this. So yeah, that's the low block. That's been some fan concerns that, to be fair, we agree with quite a lot of them. There are problems for Newcastle to address. There's Brentford on Sunday, and then we got 2 weeks to address them with half the squad away on international duty. I've been Michael Grahamslaw, been joined by Iain Mackay. Join us on Sunday for the reaction pod straight after full time. And until then, how are the lads?
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.